Hey everyone, this is Mike, and I'm here with Isaac.
What's up?
And we're here to talk about some video games. More specifically, we're here to talk about an update to the whole situation between Nintendo and Pocketpair because announcement is that the US Patent Office is going to re examine one of the major patents that Nintendo has been trying to use against Pocketpair in their whole lawsuit situation. And this is pretty huge. Now, before we get to it, please, if you like what we do here, please rate, comment, and subscribe. So we have an article here from GamesFray that says, huge blow to Nintendo. Head of US Patent Office takes rare step to order re-examination of summon sub character and let two fight in one of two modes patent. So yeah, as mentioned here, the whole situation is that again, Palworld is still trying to sue Pocketpair for several different patents. Like one of the big patents is being able to throw a ball to summon a monster onto a playing field. The other is to
Mhm.
summon a monster to glide onto a playing field and whatnot. But yeah, it was recently announced that the Japanese patent office has rejected the whole patent that Nintendo wanted to file regarding being able to summon monsters on the field, claiming that it wasn't unique enough to warrant the patent. And I believe because of this the whole ramifications of people speaking out against this, it caused someone over at the U.S. Patent Office to decide to re-examine the whole situation with that same patent to see if it's all legit or not. Now, it is mentioned that Nintendo has 2 months to respond to this re-examination order, and that other companies can speak out against this whole patent situation if they haven't already. And yeah, again, it's been mentioned that director John A. Squares is the one who personally decided to look into this patent. Now, the U.S. patent is numbered 1240337, and it has mentioned that it conflicts with other patents, like including a patent that was filed by Konami in 2002 and another by Nintendo themselves in 2019, although it was published in 2020. And yeah, they use the same kind of art that basically teaches a player being allowed to perform in battle in a manual mode and a simpler automatic mode, the one of two modes as mentioned. So, with all that being said, I want to get your take on it.
No, I think this is actually very big because, again, knowing the United States Patent Office, they never go back to review patents. So this is kind of big. Like you said, there was so much upheave and upcry to the internet and social media that they're actually going to go back to re-examine this and their whole system because, like you said, we mentioned this back on the podcast a couple of months ago and how the fact that Nintendo was allowed to even send out their older now let me actually backtrack. This is an older patent. This is not actually this is them re-examining an older patent. This is not the current patent that's being issued right now. That's in a court case. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. So they're going back to looking at a certain older patent that is kind of conflicting with the current one that's at the case right now. And I think they're looking at certain trying to similar notes and takes of it also, and I think it also gives them a chance to kind of review their due diligence and then their process and how they even allow their patent to just kind of um go through approval without any kind of like actual due diligence or text or even a chance of rebuttal to give Nintendo to be able to change their wording. Either way, it's great because at the end of the day, it now forces Nintendo to be very specific exactly what they're trying to present
Mm-hmm.
to the patent office and not trying to put broad claim in just because you just want to get something through and to be able to protect your butt and like throw this cat's net. Now they're really going after them to make sure exactly what are you actually targeting that other game companies cannot use and look at. Because so I think this is a very interesting win. And also an interesting topic that I also kind of brought up is if this was a bigger situation, because you look at companies like Microsoft or Sony, why didn't they speak up sooner too? Because I assume they want to be able to kind of create their own monster catching games down the road. That's going to also go conflict with Nintendo's patent and
Mm.
trying to claim it. So I was a little surprised that a lot of those companies hadn't really stepped in to block Nintendo on that as well, unless they're kind of looking at it in the hopes that if Nintendo still does win, that gives them kind of license to be able to throw out their own patents down the road and try to claim any broad net ideas that they have moving to stop other developers and making their games. That's probably one of the ideas I'm probably thinking about in that
Well,
situation.
well, I haven't really considered that there are a lot of like big name like monster capturing games on the market. Obviously, like Digimon, but the way that you get monsters and that is a little different than the way Pokemon does it. Same thing for Shin Megami Tensei.
Mhm.
Also, it's very well known for monster taming. Yeah, monster taming. It's a little bit different. But usually when it comes to like making games that are like monster capture style, like similar to Pokemon, it's usually indie games like Temtem or Cassette Beats. Those are the two ones that pop up into my head, other than Palworld. But yeah, just like obviously a lot more people should speak out against this, because like no company should be able to have full control over just an idea.
A
You could,
monopoly of it.
yeah, you can have like control over the art of how it's the art that's used, maybe some of the like the finer like coding, or maybe perhaps, but just not the general idea. Like no one should have control over that.
No, and I agree on that because, like you said, in the world that we live in, like art is it's shared. Art is
Yes,
shared, and it's expired. And for the for Nintendo just to kind of, like you said, blanket that and try to stop people from holding out on an idea, that is little fetch, because the whole point of making video games at the end of the day, it's still an art. And like you said, art should be allowed to be shared, and it should allow for people to there's no such thing as original ideas. It's
truly,
just
yeah, truly
suggest
original.
but we make suggestions, or we give what was the word I actually was trying to throw around, um viewpoints, a different viewpoint. That's probably not the word, but that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. A different viewpoint on that said idea is what makes things different or unique or original. And for Nintendo to kind of block that ability for people to kind of give a different idea or a different vantage point on said game is it's really terrible for the gaming industry moving forward, because that's how ideas start. Like you said, for independent companies to be able to kind of work on their ideas and to be able to share ideas and things to move forward. Like I think about a game like you think of the first Prince of Persia: Sands of Time was
Rewind
the
mechanic.
rewind mechanic that came from like a Daffy Duck game. That the
Really,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, that mechanic came from a Daffy Duck game. Like, so it is interesting to see where even the not the most successful games could have some really good functions or mechanics that someone could see and use that for games moving forward. And now we can't unnot think of that. So I think it's really so I think it is important that Nintendo hopefully sits down and takes an L on this, because going back to our other podcast that we talked about it, I know that you sat down and mentioned that the idea of hopefully this being a big win is that Power World get uh, you know Power World is still be able to function and work as a company. For me, it was more like I kind of need Nintendo to take a hit, because they should not be allowed to just cast a huge net
Mm-hmm.
on broad statements on patents just because they don't want to put in any kind of work to be any original on their own products and IPs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the biggest example of why this patents like this should not obviously belong to one company is like the Shadow of Mordor game,
Mm.
like from yeah, the whole Nemesis system, where it was a mechanic that allows players to fight enemies and then like create enemies that feel capable of actually remembering like past encounters. So basically, and if you like fight certain enemies and they remember what you did, how you fought them, how you treated them, and when you're playing like certain missions, they'll actually try to come back and enact revenge on you, which was super cool. And unfortunately, that's locked behind a patent for a company that no longer exists anymore, and it's not going to be like available to the public domain until 2036, which freaking sucks. So like imagine if like Nintendo did the same thing and said like you can't like have this patent to summoning monsters in your games until we go out of business. Now, obviously Nintendo's not gonna let that happen. They're gonna do like
Well, I think what's really interesting about the Shadow of Mordor, that patent seemed like it was unique enough for them to have a patent on it. You know, I think
yeah.
that's the difference versus Nintendo, where monster capture is pretty broad. Like it's no different than like catching animals in the wild in real life. Like you can't really patent that, you know. That's a very broad thing. At least with the Nemesis thing, that is unique enough. That patent, that mechanic is unique enough that they can hold water to that,
Yeah, I get you.
you know.
Mm-hmm. True, but still, it's just like the just.
And no, it does suck that
Mm-hmm.
other gamers can't use that because that's a really cool mechanic that could probably use in other games, though. But in this case, they were able to display that there was, especially you also have to think about the time this game got released. That was very unique. Not everybody was doing that, so it
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
very unique thing to have in a game at that time. I think you also have to take that into consideration. So.
yeah, yeah, yeah. True, but going back to the whole situation with Nintendo and Pocketpair, this whole lawsuit again. I'm just glad that the U.S. Patent Office is re-examining this whole situation so that obviously Nintendo doesn't like get away with this, because Nintendo's been getting away with way too much crap lately,
Mhm.
and they need to be taken down a peg. But yeah, that's more or less it. Like, so what do you think about the news? Are you happy about this, like this new development that they're going to re-examine this patent? Are you against it? Yeah, just let us know. If you like what we do here, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mike with Isaac. We are saying peace.